Fibre cement cladding can not only be used on new build properties, but it can also be used on existing Victorian or older properties to give a new lease of life.
We've used it on a couple of Victorian houses, properties where they're sort of older on top state, perhaps with brick below being rendered on top, can be used with this modernised cladding, just to bring that general modernised feel to the building, but also to improve the look, the style.
Some of the typical projects we would see with James Hardie Hardie Plank cladding would be refurbs, extensions, remodels, self-builds and renovations. So fibre cement cladding comes typically in two textures, which would be your cedar, which is a wood grain effect, or it would come in smooth. Colour range is typically between 21 colours and they range across the full spectrum.
You've got midnight black, a light mist, which is like a light blue one. This is a grey slate here, an Arctic white, an anthracite grey is a very popular one as well, with the contrast between bricks if you're going to have a contrast between the buildings. When we finished a couple of projects with the Hardie Plank, just taking a step back and actually seeing the contrast between sort of a brick structure below and then the board with different colours contrasting can just give the building a real sort of clean, fresh finish, and it just works, it just brings the building together.
Typical finish of Hardie Plank would be a unique, modern, contemporary finish. It's got a modern aesthetic and a premium look. Adding cladding can massively improve the look of your extension. It's something that can bring a new lease of life to the building. Fibre cement weatherboard cladding works really well with new extensions, typically because we see most new extensions are made of a timber frame. The Hardie Plank cladding itself fits directly to a timber substrate, so it works perfectly with that situation.
The cladding can definitely improve any look on any extension or any building. Simple reason being, if you've got an old building with old worn out bricks, but the weather and the sun fading is kicking in on the building, the Hardie Plank board can transform it so it's protected.
Home renovators give quite careful consideration to what the exterior of the property will look like after their renovation. Renovators have a complete mix of whether they like to match with existing materials or whether they like to use something that's completely new and bold. When that comes to extensions, we can see they'd often like to match in with the existing cladding that they may have on site, or they would like to throw something up that's completely contrast to the building that's there. And it's something that's modern, new, contemporary and different. Fibre cement cladding can be used to replace UPVC or cedar cladding. Typically you won't be able to match it in with the existing cladding directly, but it is a direct swap out.
What the previous UPVC cladding or the wood cladding was installed on needs to be inspected first. We do need the roofing membrane behind to keep the building existing dry, and then it needs to be battened correctly, and then the boards and planks screwed and fastened each as they should be, including trims from below, from the sides to finish them, and from the top to allow still the ventilation to cross flow. So these ones are metal, so they're longer lasting, made specifically for the Hardie Plank board, whereas UPVC would be a cladding on the side it's sort of glued to, or a wood timbered cedar cladding would be one that's got a fixed wooden corners.
Hardie Plank weatherboard doesn't differ massively in terms of insulation values compared to other products on the market. However, Hardie Plank, specifically to Hardie Plank, does have a range of different trims available to allow you to have a different depth build-up behind the cladding. This means that we can use a counterbatten system behind the cladding to install something like a 25mm PIR insulation board and allow our air cavity that we need on top to continue. This allows us to add insulation onto an existing property. Fibre cement cladding is typically lower maintenance than the other types of cladding in the market. If we were to look at the likes of something like timber, which requires constant maintenance on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, where you're either having to paint or treat the exterior of the facade, likely with UPVC, you're either having to remove or replace it every 5 to 10 years. Fibre cement cladding itself has a 60-year lifespan. Fibre cement cladding is very easy to clean. It is typically self-cleaning, so once installed, as long as you've removed any construction material or debris, it will clean itself with wind and rain.
Fibre cement cladding does not expand, contract, shrink or move in any way. It's a fibre cement board, it's got a resin and a polymer inside it to keep it that way. It's specifically designed, so there's no gaps or shrinkages or bends should occur within the board, creating a tight seal and a great clean finish, so that maintenance free.
The benefits of fibre cement weatherboard don't just stop at cladding the home. We've often seen, and more recently than not, the use of Hardie Plank cladding in garden rooms, home offices, barbecues, soffit details and various others.